What's good, Academy Nation Podcast here, Coach of your Detroit Red Wingles, and we're here for the semifinals and final matches of the GPA Season 1. Congratulations to the coaches who've made playoffs, and even more congratulations to the coaches who've made it this far. It is quite an achievement to be in the top 4 of the leaderboard for a draft league. Particularly when we've said, like, anyone really could have a shot at this game. And, you know, the teams that have been performing well all season have the best spots in this, but we still have people who have a chance of getting in and can really do some work on the back end, getting themselves into the championships. But it's going to take a little bit of work. It's going to take a little bit of skill. It's going to take a little bit of great team building, a lot of it of great team building, more or less, to get yourselves into playoffs. But also to get yourselves through playoffs. So good luck to these coaches. We have King Kryptonite, the Phoenix Sunkers, undefeated until I think week 7 or 6 in the main season. So really long run there. And it continues to make a stint into playoffs. We have Banzai, who has been playing in the top 3, top 4 the whole season. Same with Beans holding in that top 5 slots. And then Wayscar, who eked away in a little bit into the last couple weeks, was able to overcome their opponent, which I believe they were the 7th seed, and the 7th seed beat they beat Thread to take this spot. So already did a match where they have been the underdog and have come out on top. But we have these 2 matches, so we have. And then we have the finals, which will be the 2 teams that win out from that. That's what we're going to be covering today. It probably will not be as long of a stream as possible. And this is the last one we'll be doing because there is no more matches in GPA after we finish playoffs. So this is it. And we'll be back to our regular scheduled program. But I really appreciate all of you who have come out, supported these watch parties, who have been a part of it, who have hung out in the chat, provided your team sheets, who have been a fan of this series. I really hope that we see you again in season 2. We're not quite sure when that will be yet. Or I'm going to take a look. No, I'm not going to take a look. I'm going to take a look on my phone, because if I opened it on my computer, you'd see everything, and I don't want you to see everything because I didn't switch it over there. But I'm going to see if the mods came up with anything. There is no plans for season 2 yet, but there will be a season 2. I'm assuming we'll be planning it probably starting the new year, and it will probably take place in the late spring, early summer months. So look forward to that. This one did take a while to plan out, so they do just take some time. And if you're not starting by the time you finish one, it's just going to be a bit. So we'll probably expect to see about 5 or 6 months, 4, 5, 6 months, somewhere in there for us to be back. But there are no plans, so I don't have anything to share with you about that. But I do have 3 really good matches for the championship to share with you. So let's take a look at what we got. Of course, the Phoenix Sunkers and the Golden Glaceons had a really close match in week 7. I don't have the statistics there, but I'm pretty sure that it was like a 1 or 2 point victory. I think both of these were 1 or 2 mon victories. So there is a chance that an upset could happen if Wayscar pull out something. Same with Banzai being able to pull out something over Beans, who actually beat them in week 1, which is the first week of the season. And there is a little bit there to be said about, you know, it was the first week of the season. We didn't really know our teams. It's really hard to get a win week 1, but facing your week 1 opponent in playoffs is a really good way to kind of solidify yourself after you've had a few weeks to play with the team, after you know what it does and you can pilot it really well. So we could see a change. And again, that was a really close match. I think our closest match of week 1. So we're going to have some really good matches going into this. First up is King Kryptonite and Wayscar, though, for their semifinals match. This is our Golden Glaceons, the Chien Pao, Iron Moth, Walking Wake, Terra Arbeliva team that you see on the very left, and King Kryptonite, the Phoenix Sunkers here with the Iron Valiant team in the middle. If we're looking at this team on my end, I am bringing Valiant 197,000 million percent. It can beat Chien Pao. It can beat Iron Moth with the right set. It can beat Walking Wake. And the rest of the team doesn't really matter too much. The biggest problem Valiant will have would probably be Darkspun and or a really defensive Slitherwing and potentially some variants of Donphan. So if you can have some like wall breakers, some chips, if you want to run hazards this week, it'd be great. Also, the funny part about this is we talked about it a couple weeks ago. It's rain versus sun. So what do you want to bring? Honestly, getting rain is pretty good. And I think it's going to be Kryptonite's strategy. I don't remember what the sets were when they first battled, but rain is really good because it does shut down the offensive for Wastecar, but that does mean that you are going to have a Walking Wake that you're going to have to deal with, and potentially maybe running a more pivoting variant of Iron Valiant with a choice item or life orb could make the most use out of this Pokemon this week, because that will stop your dragon spam, and if you are especially defensive in the sun, you know, you can stop Hydro Steam and stuff like that. So rain looks really good. I like that. I think I said that last time. I believe the sets that I called were bring Pelipper, Kilowattrel, Baskia Legion, Iron Valiant, Lando, and your pick on the final slots. Now, knowing what Racecar likes to do, which is use that Colossal very, very well, and having seen Mandibuzz do some work in the last couple weeks, I like Mandibuzz, kind of. Also, the Toxic variant is pretty free here on everything that is not Moth or Jirachi. But I guess you're going to see that. And even if they do come in, Mandibuzz can shut them down with different kinds of sets such as Snarl, Foul Play sets. Like, those kind of things can make Mandibuzz really good here. I like that. Latios could come in to do some work against Jirachi as well. Maybe like, I think it gets Flamethrower, something like that. At least it gets Fire Blast, so there's some options there. I like Landorus for the coverages, for the things that don't matter, but I think that's the team. You bring Heavy Rain, you bring your big three up top, run Terra, Baskia, Legion however you want, and then throw your last pick on as you need it. My guess would probably be Laddie or Mandy, but Archaludon makes a good step into this fight too. Not the best, but it's the last slot. It's going to be hard to get a best slot. For Wastecar, with Landorus sitting there and being a good thing into a lot of your strong Pokemon, a lot of your strategy, I think you have to bring Chien Pao to deal with it this week. Being wary of Iron Valiant, would love to see a Focus Sash set to maybe catch the Valiant on the switch and then deal with it on the backside. I do like Walking Wake this week is a definite bring for me. You can utilize both the sun and the rain, so if it does come, it's good. If it doesn't come, it's fine. And if it doesn't have either weather, it's still a really good Pokemon. If you are afraid of hazards, which I think is a big play for this team, maybe I would bring Donphan to do hazards. I would also like to set hazards, and I think Donphan is one of the better options for that. Maybe a utility Jirachi with U-turn pivoting. Those feel like good brings for me. Otherwise, I'm probably running Leafeon and or Arboliva just to get grass coverage into these water types that are going to be on the field. And then you counter them. Yeah, I like all those. Chien Pao, Walking Wake, Arboliva, Jirachi, Donphan. And then if you really feel like more pressure is needed with Leafeon, I feel like you can do that. If you wanted to run Slitherwing as a defensive cripple to something like Iron Valiant, that's fine. A Terra, though, could be really good, and I think Terra Leafeon or Terra Colossal could also go well. So those would be what I would expect. But let's see what we got. This is Wastecar's team. I'm going to pull her down here for you all so we can take a look together. We have a Custap Berry Donphan, which is interesting to me. We're also seeing the back end of the other game, so I don't want to do that. But Custap Berry Donphan, which means it is calced with the HP stats to live a lot of hits, to live a hit and be able to use something out of it. So it is a traditional set, barring that it did not have, it chose to go rocks over Ice Spinner, which would be generally your coverage move for Donphan. Also, it is sturdy Donphan, so if it is going to take like a Hydro Steam or something from Walking Wake, it can still live that. The good part is this could be a great designated lead option to get rocks on the field immediately, to do something and then go from there. If you want to do that, it's up to you. If you don't, then more power to you. Chien-Pao Choice Scarf is a really good option here as well. I really think the Focus Sash would be better, honestly, to me, but I'm not playing, so maybe they know better than we do. The speed is definitely speed count to outspeed the team under Choice Scarf. Chien-Pao is fast. I don't know what the speeds are without like breaking it down like I would in one of my draft videos, but I can tell you that Chien-Pao is going to be faster than everything with Choice Scarf, unless there's another Scarfer max speed on the other side, or Tailwind gets put up. Like, those things can cause problems. It's probably ideally Choice Scarf to try to deal with Iron Valiant in a niche situation, like Psychic Fangs, being able to revenge kill that way. So we'll see. We see the first time, I think they've brought Harvest Citrus Berry this season with a defensive poison. Terra, there's, again, the only thing we're really worried about is Lando, and even then, yeah, you don't really want to take that. So I don't know why poison, but there is Hyper Voice on the set. Potentially that's meant to catch the fairy type. This would be a pretty good counter into Iron Valiant. So I guess that's why it's here. It is no attack, which is just what the standard is. But that's a pretty standard Arboliva set overall. Run mixed defense, run mixed HP, almost max HP, and then split your other stats into defense and special attack, which gives it enough power to do some damage, but also gives enough defense to live some hits. Especially under Strength Sap, you are making your physical attackers unable to touch you if you're Arboliva, and a good Arboliva player can get it to work. So I'll be glad to see that if it decides to work out for us. Next up is Assault Vest Jirachi. As I said, some sort of utility Jirachi would be cool, but this is also a good idea. You get another specially defensive Pokemon, which is great. And Jirachi's just kind of gone crazy with the stats across the board. You've set up in the HP. You've given yourself a little bit of speed to outspeed those slower than base 100 Pokemon, which is a lot of things on the other team. You give yourself some attack to get boost, but also you're banking on Meteor Mashes to help with that. Drain Punch for recovery, U-turn for pivoting options, Thunder Punch as a variant for the rain if it decides to come, and you have some special defensive investment just to be able to live something from, I'm assuming Pelipper and or Basculegion if it was especially on that, if it decides to be special for some reason. Iron Moth also coming. Booster Energy gives you the one-time boost. Stellar doesn't matter. It is Quark Drive, of course, so that is going to be Booster Speed. It is a Timid nature, so really setting up the speed. You're going to be hoping to get your special attack boost with Fiery Dance, but you are running a very interesting Discharge coverage move for the rain. I like that option. I think it's good. Dazzling Gleam, I'm not too sure what it's meant to catch. Maybe Latios? Latios, yeah. And that's probably why you're max speed as well. And then Walking Wake with a Roselli Berry to dodge poison moves on the bottom. Draco Scald, knockoff, and flip turn. That's kind of a standard set, although we see Scald over Hydro Steam, maybe trying to grab some burns. Next up, though, we can see what King is bringing. We have our Chaludon with the Choice Scarf. That's an interesting set. I don't think we've ever really seen that, but not a bad option for a lead. It is kind of mixed, although the Earthquake is probably a coverage move meant to catch Ninetales if it decides to be a Sun team, which we did not see from Wastecar, so there is no Sun this week. That is coming. That is probably why that's there, to do some work. We have a very interesting Provo Pass set that I'm really excited about, honestly. Covert Cloak and Magnet Pool, which I believe counters Jirachi from U-turning. If you didn't know, Magnet Pool locks in Steel types, opposing steel types, which is the only reason it would be used here on Jirachi. Otherwise, sturdy would probably make more sense. But Covert Cloak blocks secondary effects of Pokemon. I'm not sure if it does work on U-turn. I see the vision though, and we'll have to look at the battle and see if that gets used at all. But Earthquake would literally obliterate Jirachi from the field. He knows it's probably coming. It is the most used Pokemon on his team, on Wastecar's team. So definitely want to prepare for that. Thunder Wave for some disruption, Body Press to use off the defensive side, and Iron Defense. This thing can sit here and set up if it needs to and just do some work. Great to block physical attackers. That is another counter for Chien-Pao. Counter for physically offensive. Well, I guess it wouldn't be great into Slitherwing, but maybe lets you beat Donphan 1v1 or Leafeon 1v1 if you can get set up enough. I like the set. I think Probopass, this is the one time to bring Probopass, and the one use Probopass can have, so I'm excited to see how it works with this. We have Designated Lead Pelipper with eject button, meant to take a hit and get out, although it can U-turn. It's a pretty standard set, although it's double Water Stab with Surf and Weather Bolt. Not quite sure what the vision is there. Maybe expecting like if sun comes out or if like rain dissipates at some point in time, Surf is still a valid option and you still have a water move, I guess. And maybe you don't really need your flying stab because you're not really expecting Leafeon or Arbo to stay in on you. I don't know. That would be my guess. It's a pretty standard Pelipper. Obviously went for defense over speed, the variant, so that's what that is. Basket Legion Expert Belt, good job. Expert Belt, to boost the stab move, to boost super effective moves rather. We have Last Respects, meant to be a revenge sweeper at the end. Flip Turn for flipping in the early parts of the game. Wave Crash for some damage, and Terra Blast to bank that Terra Fairy into things like Chien-Pao, into Walking Wake if needed. Fairy's a great Terra, honestly, into this team, and I really like it for this Pokemon, so big fan of that. We have Life Orb, Sheer Force, Landorus. Of course, Sheer Force negates the Life Orb recoil damage, so that's really the standard Lando eye set anyway. Max Special Attack, Max Speed, meant to be a menace. It is a Nasty Pot setup with access into Earth Power and Weather Ball as the tech this week. Sludge Wave to catch the Fairy types and or the Grass types. So it's really meant to come in, hit the field, and just kind of win. Lando can sweep in the correct situations. Unfortunately, that's going to mean Chien-Pao is going to have to be off the board for this to work. And good luck with that. And then last but not least is the Valiant with booster speed. They decided to go with the boost option, not the tried and true stay in, flip around, do random stuff option. This is a special one with Moonblast, Psychic, and Aura Sphere, trying to catch checks to itself, which would be things like Moth, would be Slitherwing, Arbo, Colossal maybe. But I guess it is running dual stab. The check is really the psychic move to probably get Moth off the board. Expecting that to be the counter. So it's going to be a very close match, I feel like. Unless somebody gets set up really easily and really early, that's going to be the difference. So we look at Beans' set first, so I'm going to look at his viewpoint. Again, we talked a little bit about leads. I do think it's lead Pelipper. You want to try to get your rain up as fast as possible, especially with a lot of other things using it in the back. We see Weather Ball on 2 of the 3 two Mons, and Basket Legion likes it for Swift Swim as a way to potentially counter even the Chien-Pao at the end. On the other side, though, I'm not sure exactly what you start with. I like the idea of Donphan for rocks, but I would imagine it's probably a U-turn Jirachi and or a flip turn. A flip turn Walking Wake actually feels better to me, so that's what I'm going to assume we're going to see. It is the Archaludon lead in the Walking Wake, so we got half of it right, but we're going to see a direct switch into Dracometer to take it. Now, is this where you switch to Probopass? This is where you use Probopass to do the tech. You are going to tank that hit. Unfortunately, without the Terra, Jirachi just has your number, I think. And I don't think you have enough speed. No, not enough speed. predicting the switch back out into like Pelipper there. That's great. That damage is nuts. That damage is nuts, and there's the sack Probopass. So that's the real problem with Probopass. Like, if it was Terra and you could Terra the Probopass, I don't believe that Probopass had Terra Captaincy. But if you could Terra the Probopass and resist the Drain Punch tech, I mean, Jirachi just kind of had your number, though. I mean, it is a Steel type that has Meteor Mash. You are a Rock type, so you are going to take damage. You are going to take at least neutral damage from that. So, like, it's not the best option. It is a cool option. I wish it worked out better, but it didn't. So we'll move on. Flip turn to break Sturdy in case it is Sturdy Donphan, which we know it is. This is Rocks. This is not Rocks. It is Knockoff to get rid of the item on Bass, which is a great play. And then we're gonna get a straight up U-turn. We're getting a lot of pivoting here. Although even with Probopass gone, King is still kind of doing the work. There is Donphan's last effort with Custap to get Rocks up. So Rocks are on the field to stay. That is good because we did not see any heavy duty boots on the other side. The Para is coming in at the worst time, so it is going to be Arbo. We are not going to see the seed. He's not going to see the seed, so he's going to assume maybe that was the option to try to deal with it, but obviously not. The Alluring Voice to try to catch the Iron. The Alluring Voice to try to catch the Archaludon, and then the worst Terra I've ever seen into Terra Earth Power, just to get mollywopped. So yeah, Lando might just clean here. Lando doesn't really want to switch. This is the one time Lando would switch, and he doesn't, because that is actually a KO. Crunch is actually a KO, which is crazy. Good middle ground play, but I think with the Basque still around, with the Drizzle up, there is still plenty of options here for Basque Legion to get in and win. Although I would have just switched right there, got the Basque Legion in, and then tried to do the work against the Chien Pao. Although you are working on 2 turns of rain, and you are not bringing in Basque Legion. That is crazy. Here's the Quark Drive for Iron Moth to try to do something. It is unfortunately going to get crit. It's a great call because that's really the only thing right now that will deal with Archaludon. And the discharge is just not enough, but it is gonna Para, which is gonna mitigate Basque Legion for the rest of this game. However, it might be too little too late. We'll see if Choice Scarf outspeeds. It does. Choice Scarf outspeeds, and this is on the back of Archaludon right now to win. This is close. This is very close. The thing is, I don't think Chien Pao has anything that can beat both Archaludon and Basque Legion. It does not. The game is set here. The game is over simply with that. That is crazy. It is another 2-0 victory, but again, that is a 1% HP Basque Legion. It didn't change the flow of the battle, really. But you see how close Archaludon is to going down. What a well-fought battle between these two Titans, where King Kryptonite will take a +2 victory to secure his place in finals, where Wastecar will drop out after some valiant efforts and a good run into playoffs. Very good match, guys. Nothing to be ashamed of there. And we look forward to seeing what happens next season, Wastecar. But well played. Enjoy your positioning in semis. All right, our last semifinal match is between who? Good job. I don't know. It's between the Boston Celebies and Banzai and Big Time Beans in the Cleveland Bears. Imagine you didn't see what was on the screen, because I actually didn't. All right, Cleveland Bears and the Boston Celebies. They are right here on your screens for you, although you can't see the Celebies team. But Beans is rocking this Terrapagos, Meowscarada, Kyurem, Lando T team, whereas Banzai is repping the Roaring Moon Corviknight team, and at the bottom, that you cannot see below Hippowdon is Vaporeon, Conkeldurr, Motum, Row. I said Motum, Row. Good job. Rotom, Mo, and Komala for this team. In light of this, what am I doing? I'm bringing Kyurem 120%. That is just a great matchup into Roaring Moon. Honestly, maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. This would be the week I would say maybe you don't. That's the only thing it's going to really do for you. It would have to be like a Scarf variant or a super bulky defensive, like Icy Wind set. I don't know. I don't like that. But I will say what looks good right now into this team is honestly that Typhlosion. Terra Fire or Eruption could go crazy. Volcarona doesn't block it. Your really only problem is Bundle and Roaring Moon, but if you can break those, you can get through it. This Terra Knuckle Stack is going to be the problem, though, and it's a great Pokemon because it does that. I do think you bring Masquerada Flower Trick is a great option to revenge Iron Bundle. It's a great option to keep that off the field. Lando feels alright to me. I don't think Lando is what I would do. Yeah, I don't like Lando as much this week. I mean, this might just be a tough match for Beans because his best hitters are not things that were to come. So you have to find a way around it. Lucario has enough utility, I think, and a wide variety that it could stack up well into like the Knuckle. But again, it's not a great matchup. For Alligator feels good. Dragonance for Alligator, I like that. There's some that can stop it, but not a lot. I think you go Weezing as well to counter the Roaring Moon as an option to get rid of Salt Cure on Knuckle Stack and maybe like Toxic It or something. I like that a lot. That's probably what I would expect to see. This could be a setup Necrozma week. It would go pretty hard into like Gengar on the bottom, into Conk, which are probably good options. I might try to do like, what is the move? Gear Shift or Gear Grind or whatever it is. To get your Shift Gear, rather, to get your speed up and make yourself more nimble. That could be a good option as well. To do some work. I feel like you bring Terapagos and Meowscarada. I like Weezing. I like Lucario for the variety that it could bring. I would expect probably a special set, given that Corviknight is super defensive, given that Volcarona probably can afford to run Flame Body this week, given that you would have access to, I think, Dark Pulse to cover that Gengar. I feel like the special Lucario could be good. And then you could also Terra out of your Fighting Steel type, which is actually pretty bad in this team. Maybe into Ghost to stop Knuckle Stack. I like that actually pretty well. So yeah, Meowscarada, Terapagos, Weezing, Necrozma, Lucario. And then you probably need one more thing for utility. I like the speed control. I know I keep saying it every week we talk about Kricketune. I love speed control with this team because you need it. And I feel like Kricketune, this is your time to shine. To stop Bundle, to stop Volcarona, stop Roaring Moon. I like all of that. So I'm going to say Kricketune is the last one you bring. On the other side, I feel like Banzai has a better matchup this week. You can afford to do a lot of more risky plays. It is Roaring Moon, unfortunately, the show this week. And how do you counter Weezing? I don't know. That's a great question. Probably Hattering. Probably Hattering specifically. Maybe Gengar if you want. I don't hate the Gengar bring this week just because Toxic Spikes could be an option, considering that you don't have any flying immunities on this team, and that could be a great way to catch the Knuckle Stack. Could be a way to get, except besides Corviknight rather. I like that. I like Gengar for that reason specifically. I feel like Conkeldurr is a duh bring because it beats the top 3. Knuckle Stack is good. So we're looking at Roaring Moon, we're looking at Hattering, Knuckle Stack, Gengar, Conk, and your 6 Pokemon really could be whatever you want. You have all of your Terra Captains in at that point. Maybe you go more of a defensive option with like Corviknight to counter The Lando, I mean, it literally is a perfect counter to Lando. Not a bad setup Pokemon. I like Corviknight, I think. So I think that's the 6. Those are the 6 we can expect to see. But we can look at what they actually are bringing. And if I got stuff right or not, we can tell. So let's take a look-ski here at what we have. We have the Iron Bundles with heavy-duty boots. Okay, I don't hate it. It's not what I expected, but it's not what I like. Definitely expecting some rocks as we see 2 sets of boots here. Spend it really making yourself a special attacker. I'm not sure if you are still speed invested, so I guess you just didn't want / need the speed. It is the 2 attack pivoting utility, wall breaking. It's an Iron Bundle that's trying to do everything, which is not terrible in my mind. So I'm interested to see that. We have Chilean Berry Conkeldurr with Iron Fist. So opting not to run the Guts set this week in order to run the Punches. I don't hate it. Mach Punch is really good, especially off of this attack stat at max attack. Knock off a great coverage move. Drain Punch for utility. We have the Chilean Berry to take less damage from something like Terapagos. That's when I'm going to Rapid Spin in its face. Also for the other problems with like E-Speed Lucario. I don't hate this at all. It's a really good bring-up for Conkeldurr. I was expecting just with the prevalence of status condition, that it would be the Guts variant. We do have Flame Body Volcarona, which I talked about. Another heavy duty Bootsmon, again, really fearing rocks, which is fair. That is something you have to worry about with this. It is a setup variant with Quiver Dance, Giga Drain for recovery, Fiery Dance. Like, Volcarona is one of the Pokemon that if it gets in the right condition and you can get 1 Quiver Dance up, suddenly the game's over. It has 2 sets of recovery in Morning Sun and Giga Drain. Fiery Dance for stab. It doesn't need Bug Stab, I guess. So let it do its work. I wonder how many boosts you need to beat Meowscarada 1v1. That's my question. And if that's even a thought process into this this build at all. I guess Flame Body can cripple it if it's Flower Tricking, but still, even then, who knows? It is the Magic Bounce Hatterene, which is a pretty good set. We do see Trick Room coming, probably to let things like Corviknight and the Hippowdon below do stuff, as well as this Conkeldurr will be able to do a lot of sweeping as well. I feel like it is the opposite of Conkeldurr with max defense instead of max attack. Bold nature boosting that defense, really defensive wall, not meant to do damage here. Ironic to me that it's not, well, I guess it wouldn't want to be Nuzzle if it's Trick Room, but it could also set up, and that is what we're seeing with this team, this Banzai team, is that everything can set up and everything has recovery, so it's like it feels like, so it's hard. These the last 3 Mons do, so crazy. A defensive Hippowdon, a mixed defensive offensive Hippowdon. Whirlwind is really what I looked at because it wants to maybe do some phasing, maybe break some focus sashes, maybe test things that don't have boots. We have rocks as well. That's probably a designated lead. And Sandstream also can do some really good work for chip damage. Yache Berry to deal with like Ice Punch, deal with Ice Beam, those kinds of things on the other side. And at the bottom we have our Corviknight with Leftovers, Mirror Armor, a standard Corviknight set, Ironhead, Bulk Up, Body Pressed, and Roost. Yeah, that is the standard Corviknight set if I've ever seen one. Though it decides to go specially invested with a little bit of speed. That's a speed calc somewhere. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but you probably know better than I do. So these are our teams. This is our matchup. What am I expecting a lead? I mean, it's Bundle if you want to scout. It's Hippowdon if you want to... Oh, I did not even look at the other team. My bad, friends. My bad. All right, well, here's the other team. This is Lucario, Choice Scarf Lucario, Terra Fighting. I'll pull it down here so you can see it. Choice Scarf Lucario, Terra Fighting, Jolly Nature. Sorry that I jumped to the battle quickly. It is physical this week. The Rock Slide Tech, okay. Rock Slide maybe to catch Volcarona. Earthquake also there, good for Knuckle Stack. It is a pretty cool set, I'll say. Simply because it is just an offensive set with Scarf. But it's a move set is able to take advantage of just what could be on the other side. The Terrified in close combat probably meant to deal with Knuckle Stack in most of the variants. Although we didn't see Knuckle Stack, so that's kind of crazy. For Alligator here, we have a D-Dance Life Orb Sheer Force set. That's pretty standard. The spread's a little out there, but not crazy. I'm not sure what the foreign special defense is, but sure. We have Covert Cloak Lando T with a more speed invested set than we usually would see it. Typically Lando T wants to be defensive, but a defensive pivot, but it can also be a good offensive Pokemon with some speed. U-turn momentum is obviously really good. We have Taunt as a way to stop Stealth Rocks potentially with Hippowdon or something like that. So that's probably our designated lead, 120% in my mind. And then Smackdown to, again, we've seen the tech before that flying types are Levitate Mons, aka Weezing in this case, and or Corviknight will be, think they have a good matchup on Lando, but they don't. That's just a great tech. I like that a lot. Yachi Berry, Novocaine, and the Masquerada with his speed and attack, a little bit of HP investment there, but otherwise I think it's a pretty standard set. Acrobatics is a choice, but we see it's a berry, so it's try to pinch that and use it as it can. I don't hate that at all. Protean obviously great option there. We have the Terra Raichu coming this week with Static. Okay, potentially we're meant to see some static problems there, but otherwise a pretty standard offensive Raichu with Serve as a coverage move and Terra Blast as the fighting coverage. Obviously Terra Fighting was what he expected to be the best to this team. Not sure I agree with that, but it is a good way to catch yourself not losing the Knuckle Stack, I guess. And we do see the Necrozma set. We see a special defensive, special attacking set, super special defensive, almost max HP, and max special defense with Assault Vest. That thing is going to eat every special attack. Now that we've looked at the team, we can go in here, and I'm going to actually flip it because we looked at Banzai's team first. As I said, I think the standard lead is Lando T in Hippowdon. Bundle if you want to scout and or catch Lando T. If you see Lando T here, maybe you go, okay, maybe I can scare it out with an ice move, but I'm going to flip out. So, honestly, this would be a really cool week for Lando T weakness policy. Just to catch the lead and then just steamroll. I would love to see that, but that's not what we're going to get. So, I'm expecting Bundle versus Lando or Lando versus Hippowdon. We see Meowscarada and Hippowdon, so we're expecting the flip. It is triple Axel. There is the Yachi Berry to take the first hit. It only blocks the damage off the first move, not all three. But it does do what it needs to do, and that's get rocks up. So potentially that's all Hippowdon was meant to do. It'll be saved for a sack, as the Volcarona does not take that as well as it really needs to. And it dies to another triple Axel, but we're not going to see that. We're going to see the Fiery Dance switch. There's a special attack boost. That still did pretty good damage, despite this being like a special wall, which is crazy. Great power gem. It's a good coverage move, honestly. It's a great coverage move. The Heat Wave snags the burn, which is going to be very bad for Corviknight. That's crazy. The Heat Wave gonna catch now the Hippowdon. This is just a sack, so that's crazy that Necrozma's doing this well for not being an offensive Pokemon at all. It does have offensive power, obviously, but it's not meant to do that. And now we're, I guess, stalling Sandstorm and chipping down Necrozma. The Heat Wave miss is actually crazy. So it was stalled Necrozma, the video game right there, which isn't a bad strategy. Unfortunately, your sand is gone, so your chip is gone, and you need 2 more hits to defeat Necrozma. So we're gonna sit here for a couple turns while Corviknight tries to heal, and while Necrozma tries his not to miss. So that's a very fun intuitive battle. There is not really a good switch in because Corviknight, if you let Corviknight just sit here and roost, it's gonna be at pretty good health. And expecting it's still a body press variant, you don't want to set up on something else. So that's another thing. But also, you don't probably have a really good option to deal with Corviknight in the back besides the Raichu. And I'm not sure the Raichu one-shots, especially with Volt Switch as its only stab option. So that's probably what Beans is feeling as they're doing this spam to try to stay in this game. But Heat Wave is going to run out before Roost will. Unless he decides not to Roost, which... There you go. Corviknight wins the exchange. This is a Volt Switch Raichu coming out to just finish off Corviknight. And goes into Meowscarada again to pivot out. And there's Hatterene wanting to set up Trick Room, which is a free turn, and your speed is kind of gone. So this is a great... No, it goes for Draining Kiss. That's crazy. Why not the... Why not the Trick Room, man? I don't get it. But I mean, still playing well. You know, Draining Kiss is enough with the Calm Mind boost to deal with Lando. Here's where the Lucario might try to do something. And unfortunately, that is a defensive enough. That is defensive enough Hatterene to live the Drain Punch. So we are looking Terrifying Raichu to try to clean the Iron Bundle in the back, I guess. There's Flower Trick to grab the KO on the Hatterene. It is Choice Scarfed into it. And not expecting Drain Punch. I said Banzai ran a lot of utility this week to run to heal. So that's what it's going to be doing. And unfortunately, the damage just from these Pokemon are crazy. And that was GG a long time ago. What a win by Banzai. Alluring Voice, a great last-ditch effort, but not enough. You did not prep for well enough for Conkeldurr. The stack in the end is just BM, honestly. I just feel like they didn't prep well enough for the Conkeldurr, well enough to deal with Corviknight, the defensive options of this team. And that cost Beans the match. So Beans will lose here, down 3 points. Which means Banzai will take the win, go +3 into the playoffs, into the championship match. So you are now in a -1 differential. It's 5-5. I love that it does that. I really hate that it does this. At 5-5, you will take a loss to go, 6-4 at -18. At 12 differential. You'll go to 25. Sorry, 25, not 15, and you'll go to 32 differential. And we'll see a 9-1 and a 7-3. So the battle versus the two of the biggest powerhouses left in the board, left in the tournament at all. Very much a big fan of this matchup here. As we see Banzai going up against the favorite King Kryptonite, only dropping one match this season, which is crazy. And we're gonna see if they played. I believe they did, and I think Banzai actually won that battle. This is the Boston Celebes versus the Phoenix Sunkerns. And I believe they did play 1 week, and Banzai actually won. I cannot find it if they did play. Boston Celebes, nope. I gotta find one of them. Boston Celebes, Rillaboom, Sunkerns, Choodle. This is Celebes. Celebes Primarina, Celebes Rillaboom, They're on the same side, so they can't play each other. Celebi's Choodle? No. No, they did not play in the regular season at all. That's crazy. So we really have no like inventory to go over before we jump into this fight. There's no like matchup to talk about. There's no like big scenario to talk about. There's no underdog story. It's just two of the best battlers in the league playing against each other in a high stakes tournament for the first time ever, because they have not played this whole season, and we'll see if that matters, because it's crazy. It's crazy to think that they haven't. I think Thread actually has beaten both of these two teams, if I remember correctly. Oh, and Thread would be our Phoenix Sun Currents. Maybe Thread was the win. We need to find who beat Phoenix Sun Currents. It was the Chipotle Choodle, sorry. The Chood, yeah, which was Thread. So Thread did beat, I believe, both of these teams. I'm gonna double check my calcs on that to make sure we are. I'm telling you it's truth and not a lie. Yeah, so you did beat the Phoenix Sun Currents there in week 6. I'm looking for Boston Celebies over and over again, just to see if they played. It doesn't seem like they did. You know, honestly, the Celebies had a pretty easy schedule, considering a lot of things. They did fight at least 2 or 3 of the bottom 4 teams, and won when it mattered. So the Celebies did beat Thread. So maybe that's a storyline we talk about. You know, Thread was a very big competitor in this game, and Banzai beat them, Wayscar beat them, and Banzai beat Wayscar again. So, and Thread was the only one that took King Kryptonite down this season. And the fact that Banzai technically beat him once and then beat the person who beat him means that he's not that much of an underdog. They just haven't played, and honestly, they have 2 really good teams. I was looking at my breakdown actually a couple weeks ago, and the team that I picked to do the best did the worst, which is funny, and I laugh at it still. That I got that. So Banzai again is the Boston Celebies. Here's the teams over here. Is the Roaring Moon team at the bottom again. You can't see Vaporeon, Conkeldurr, Rotom-Mow, and Komala. And King Kryptonite's running our Rain team with the Iron Valiant. This looks like a really bad matchup for Banzai going into it, simply because your top Mon is losing the fight. This is Iron Valiant versus Roaring Moon, which is hilarious to me, because they are both like the version exclusive big bad Paradoxmon in my mind. So funny to see them here going against each other again. I think Valiant wins that matchup. It has to come. It is good in an Aqua stack. I would be incredibly surprised if we see a choice set, and or if we see a booster energy set, because Valiant probably wants to switch in a lot in this fight. I think one of the best ways to kind of deal with Banzai's team is the slow chip, and to have the rocks on the field potentially could be good. The only real way to do that is Lando or Probopass. So I would hope to see Lando come in. I don't think Lando wants to do that though, so we'll see what happens here. And Hippowdon is just good into this team too, to deal with Kilowattrel. So I don't expect to see that coming either. Same with Rotom-Mow. Rotom-Mow is a great answer to Kilowattrel. Not a great answer, but a decent one. The burn could be fun. Like they've got some options here to mess around with Kilowattrel. But if I am King, I'm bringing Iron Valiant this week 120%. The rest of my team, I don't know what I want to do that much. The rain spam seems good. Bundle is not the bulkiest Pokemon, so Basculegion could win that at the end. Basculegion also a great answer for Hatterene. Without one-shotting Hatterene, you have to be playing for Trick Room too. And I think that might entice the Mandibuzz to come and try to do something. As we did see Hatterene was a big reason that Banzai made it into this anyway. So I like Valiant. I like Mandibuzz this week. Otherwise, I think Lando seems fun. We saw Lando be okay last week. It just wasn't meant to handle Hatterene. And I think that's really throwing it away early. So a Lando set could go crazy as well. Maybe Smackdown for utility and coverage. To go Earth Power and or just click Sludge Wave, Life Orb, Sludge Wave. Yeah, Life Orb Lando feels great. Catches Knuckle Stack, catches Gengar, if it's especially with its speed. The real big problem for Lando is Corviknight, and as we said, that's pretty much a perfect counter for it. So Lando and Roaring Moon are big problems for Corviknight and Roaring Moon rather are big problems for Landorus, but I think you have other things to deal with them. So I like Lando, I like Iron Valley on the team. The problem I think with King's team is there is no designated fire type, which means Corviknight's going to be an incredible bring for Banzai this week, and you have to find a way to deal with it. And potentially that is Kilowattrel, but potential that also is Latias with Flamethrower or something. Potentially you don't worry about the steel typing too much and you try to brute force it with water offense. I think he would be remiss not to run the Pelipper Basculegion set. I feel like that's good. You probably go Arch to try to get your rocks on the field. I like that a lot, and I already said Mandibuzz. So I think those are the 6 King will be trying to bring. Some sort of pivoting, wall-breaking Valiant to let Lando win at the end. I think Lando's the win con. Your other option would be running the Rain to boost Basculegion. That's a Damp Rock Pelipper set with a Basculegion set, Swift Swim, and then Archaludon and Mandibuzz to do a little bit of defensive pivoting and positioning. I like that for the team. If I'm Banzai, I'm bringing probably a booster Roaring Moon to catch the Basculegion outside of Rain, and or just a Scarfed Roaring Moon, which feels good to me too. Honestly, Scarfed Roaring Moon feels great to me, but booster speed feels pretty good too as a way to catch Valiant. That's really going to come down to what the items are on Valiant and Roaring Moon to see what they are. So Roaring Moon comes, it's not a great matchup into Valiant if it outspeeds, but I feel like Acrobatics still is enough to warrant its bring. I think Roaring Moon's more forced to go into a booster energy set, where Valiant has a little bit more playability with what it can do. Beyond that, I think you're going Hatterene again, because you saw get it in against Landorus last time. You will probably go Terra Psychic this time instead of Terra Fairy, if you're going to do that strategy again. A Calm Mind set actually would be pretty good in the Landorus, barring its own Calm Mind, but then Trick Room could be really good as an option as well. I think Bundle makes sense again, as a way to deal with Basculegion to take advantage of the rain, and that might honestly Hydro Pump in the rain off Iron Bundle's special attack stat could melt this team. So I think that is a good core 3 to bring. On the defensive end of this, potentially a Knuckle Stack that has some sort of way to counter Basculegion, whether that be, which would be a Terra typing that would counter it phenomenally. I think that has to be the answer. You are probably going to want Hippowdon to reset weather and or stop Kilowattrel if that is a bring. So that is probably your 5th Pokemon. And then last, let's take your pick on what you need. You have a lot of flying types here. I could see the option for Vaporeon. I could see but I do feel like you got to bring Corviknight in that slot. So Roaring Moon, Corviknight, Hatterene, Iron Bundle, Knuckle Stack, Hippowdon, I think are the 6. Mo has a good shot at being brought as well, maybe over Corviknight. But I feel like Corviknight's Bring is really good in this fight because there is no designated fire to catch it. All right, we're going to take a look at King's team first. It is a Choice Specs Iron Valiant with obviously special moves. The Fighting Stab is Vacuum Wave. That's a great catch for the Roaring Moon if it gets set up as a revenge kill. Thunderbolt to deal with any water type issues such as the Iron Bundle. Shadow Ball as coverage for Gengar and or Terra Ghost Knuckle Stack. And Vacuum Wave for priority. That's not bad. I don't hate that. I think it's a good option. Kind of mixed bag to catch everything. So don't hate that at all. It's hard to find a good item for Valiant, but I feel like that actually makes the most sense. We have our Chowdon with Assault Vest this week, meant to deal with things like the Hatterene, the Iron Bundle. It is stamina as well to deal on the both physical and special side to catch things. It's max HP and max special to really take advantage of it. And has Electro Shot to boost attack and do damage. So this is a heavy press set. So I'm not hating that. Dragon Pulse and Electro Shot. That's a pretty good Archaludon set. Would be surprised if there's an answer for it, honestly. We have Covert Cloak Pelipper, maybe to stop. I don't know what. I really have no idea what that stops. I don't know. But it is a standard set. Weather Ball, Roost, Hurricane, U-Turn, defense, especially defensive. That's standard. Mandibuzz does come. It is heavy duty boots to play around the rocks. We did see Brave Bird Roost go into really good effect last time we see it. It is a special defensive invariant as well. And then U-Turn and Defog as utility options. That's pretty standard. Mandibuzz. Kilowattrel does show up this week with Choice Scarf and Volt Absorb, meant to be an answer to the Rotom. If it shows up, meant to be an answer to the anti-water with Electric Stab, electric damage. It is Terra Fairy as well. We did see Terra Fairy do a lot of work against the dragon types on the other side. But Terra Fairy also is a really good matchup against Roaring Moon. That is quite weak to it. So potentially the answer for Roaring Moon in that case. And then Volt Switch, Weather Ball, yeah, just pretty much a standard offensive Kilowattrel set. And then last but not least, Sheer Force Life Orb Lando. Again, Gravity instead of Smackdown because they wanted Rock Slide. It is kind of got a mix set going on here. I think the Rock Slide utility is specific for the Iron. Not the Iron Moth. The what is it called? The Volcarona. Jeez. Yeah, I think that's specific for a Volcarona to catch it if it needs to. Gravity is going to be interesting to bring things down like Corviknight, like anything with air balloons. So not a bad strategy there. And then we have Banzai's team here. Whoop. We have Banzai's team here. The Iron Bundle comes again. This is the Choice Specs, both having Choice Specs options. Not meant to really do a lot with speed, and it's a pretty standard option. Dual Ice Stab, depending on what it's trying to hit. Hydro Pump, Water Stab, and a U-Turn as a pivot. Like, that's standard. That feels super standard. We have the Corviknight, which I said is a really good matchup this week. It is a bulk up power trip set. That's crazy. With Iron Head and Roost, that feels hard to break. That feels really hard to break with this team with no Fire Stab. We have Blood Moon, the Roaring Moon. It is booster energy, as I said. It's kind of required to be booster energy against Valiant because it wants to run acrobatics. Otherwise, this is a pretty standard Roaring Moon set in that regard. There is some HP investment that you might question, but also it is trying to get booster speed, so you do have to drop your attack stat. Some, saying as I've had in Roaring Moon, you have to drop your attack stat some to allow the speed to work, and that is the minimum you can have. So the HP is just a little bit left over. It is meant to get booster speed in order to outspeed and beat the Iron Valiant. Then we have Hippowdon making another return. This one's Pasha Berry to take some hits. The coverage is Thunderfang here. Sandstream to change the weather. Slack Off for healing utility, Ice Fang for coverage on Lando, and then Stab Earthquake. We have the Hatterene this time, Terra Normal. I'm not sure I get that, but Terra Normal's okay. Literally the same set we saw last week, barring it is stored power instead of psychic as the option, and Calm Mind is going to be there. So yeah, otherwise it's basically the same set. And then Vaporeon gets to come this week with the Flip Turn Wish Roar Protect. It is a utility set meant to catch the water coming in from this team when the rain. Unfortunately, there was no rain to be had, barring there was no rain abusers to be had. It would literally block Pelipper, and that is about it. But this is our championship match here, so we'll be excited to see how this shakes out. Lead options. Well, you can't lead Roaring Moon, so that's out. You might want to go Hippowdon, potentially, to get to anti-weather. I didn't look at the speeds, but I think naturally Hippowdon's slower. You probably go Bundle and don't and feign the Choice Scarf instead of the Choice Specs that are on it. On the other side, you are probably starting with Arch and or Pelipper to try to do something. So that would be my guess. Is Vaporeon meant to... Whoa. Is Vaporeon meant to catch and shut down Pelipper? But we get Valiant? We get Valiant Vaporeon with a clean Thunderbolt. Not expecting it to stay in, I guess. And it flips out. That's crazy. Although we do see a switch here. The Valiant is going to show that it's slower, I guess. We're going to take a hit. There's the sand, although our Chaldon doesn't really mind that too much. But it does cause a switch to get the weather resets. And that is a good prediction for Thunderfang. You weren't missing anything if you clicked Thunderfang anyway, because Lando comes in. That time I might have gone Ice Fang, just to show the double prediction. And I think that would have put Banzai in a much different position there. But Vaporeon, very easy to get rid of, very easy to throw it away as a sack, simply because there is no water threat to deal with, so you don't need it as much. And you can kind of rely on the rest of your pieces to do what you need to do here. That is a double switch, anticipating the switch on Landorus into Archaludon or something else. I'm not sure that's what Corviknight wanted to catch, but I guess it is. And we're just going to see the switch game as we get Rain off the field again. And we show the Ice Fang finally. And the Freeze! Oh, that's some BM. Although it doesn't matter. The Freeze literally does not matter. So it's not really a problem. We do see some sorries and no's in there, but the Freeze does not matter. This is Terra Fairy trying to beat... what was in... Hippowdon? Trying to beat Hippowdon? I mean, I guess that calc would finish it. But the easy switch is to go Corviknight, anticipating the Terra Fairy, which what Banzai does. And we have a very close game still. Really anyone's to go. Really anyone's. The Maniba's there to try to take advantage of the Corviknight, but doesn't. And we're just going to see some switching. Raybird does nothing to Hatterene, and this would be the turn if you're going to set up Trick Room to do it. And I believe is what Banzai is doing. No, Banzai's going straight Calm Mind. So because that's not a Snarl set, it is not going to really do anything against the Hatterene. And the Hatterene might just run away with it right here. You are defensive to take it, but Hatterene's just going to get free HP off of you. And there's really nothing you can do against it besides Heavy Slam, which I'm interested in why Heavy Slam wasn't the first go. Maybe to lull it into a false sense of security before you hit it. I mean, our Chaldon does 1v1 that surprisingly pretty well. However, now we have to deal with dealing with Hippowdon, and maybe thought it would pressure it out. I don't know, but great use of the turns there. That was a great read, honestly. Phenomenal read. I want to talk about that a little bit. seeing the heal, seeing that you can't KO, knowing that your Trick Room is done, your opponent 120% tries to take you out so you don't get an attack off, but you make the better play into saving it onto a 2% to go with a Pelipper to deal with the immunity. Because the safe play there was Ice Fang. Honestly, anything would have KO'd or Chalion probably there, but you aren't predicting the switch. You're seeing that if you click Earthquake, you hit. The smart play would have clicked Ice Fang and catch the Pelipper off guard, because you don't want to Volt Absorb into Kilowatt Roll, but there you go. The rain now, the Trick Room being gone now shifts the momentum back to King's side. Unfortunately, the Posho Berry is enough. That's crazy. That is a defensive Hippowdon. The Posho Berry is enough to keep it alive and to take out the Pelipper. So Rain is gone after 3 turns. And there's our Chalion coming in as a sack potentially. And here is getting rid of the Rain. And also grabbing the Electroshot immunity. That's crazy. What a play there by Banzai to get a free heal off on your opponent. And now that our Chalion is struggling to try to get a KO, which it cannot do. So that is 2 times this Hippowdon has lived kills it should have died to. It feels like. And it's just meant to take them. But able to cause a little bit more chip on Mana Buzz, put it at a 3-3, so it did its job very, very well. That is a sack. I don't see anything coming in to deal with that. Here's Kilowatt Roll to try. That is enough. That's crazy. This game is tit for tat. And do we see the Iron Val versus Roaring Moon matchup? We do. I think Roaring Moon might just win it here. Acrobatics is enough. That is not going to outspeed, but you are going to switch anyway into the Corviknight. Corviknight has to win this though. Yeah, I'm not sure why we switched there. Oh, no. Let me talk to you. Let me talk it. Let me talk it through. All right. Volt switch happens. Kilowatt Roll comes in. So what you know is Kilowatt Roll is Choice Scarf by how it's been played. We also didn't like mess up the VOD or anything. It should be right back. All right. As I was saying, let's go back through this breakthrough. You make the switch into Kilowatt Roll on a dragon move. No, not a dragon move. On acrobatics, just to scout for it. You know, based on how Kilowatt Roll's been played throughout this game, that it is Choice Scarfed. So you want to see if it's going to click Terra Blast or if it's going to click something else. That's why you switch to Corviknight. You scout. You see the scout is for Thunderbolt, which allows you to switch freely back into Roaring Moon. It's not freely, because what easily could happen here is a para, and I think that's what King sees as the out. It is getting a para on this Roaring Moon to stuff it for Valiant later. But again, it comes down to what the speed tiers are, and the speed tiers for this apparently not faster than, yeah. Wow, I did not know that Blood Moon was faster than, sorry, Blood Moon. Roaring Moon was faster than Iron Valiant, which is crazy. Which Vibrant Vacuum Wave, which doesn't even KO, but even if it did, it doesn't matter, because you have a Corviknight sitting here at 47%. You have a Corviknight sitting here at 47% with Roost and Leftovers that isn't going to die through Vacuum Wave. So there was no comeback from that at that point for Nightmare Sauce. Once you got rid of the Kilowatt Roll, it was GG. And the Celebi is going to take a 2-0 win to go 8-3 on the season with a 27 differential. The Phoenix Sunkerns take 2 losses this whole season, and one of them at the very end, but that is still enough to cause them to lose the season to a team that, in this case, is an underdog, but has been playing well all season. Congratulations to Banzai, Muskrat, and the Boston Celebes for their win this season as they take out the #1 team in the league only for the second time. So congratulations to the Boston Celebies, Banzai Muskrat, piloting the team to win against the heavily favored to win the season from the very beginning, King Kryptonite. Well played, you two. That was a well played match that came down to kind of the positioning of your Pokemon there at the end, and I'm not really sure what we can say. I'm not really sure what we can say about these teams. I'm gonna go back through and see like if there is a pivotal moment. So that's why you see the face game for a second. We're gonna like go back through, see if there's a pivotal moment where something happens. And I mean, like, this was like okay. Vaporeon was kind of just dead. But I mean, we're going tit for tat here. I mean, the difference may be the Hippowdon bring. Actually kind of clutching it this season for Banzai in playoffs. 2 weeks in a row where it does a lot of work. To let Corviknight win. I'm not sure what the different answer here. Maybe the set on Mandibuzz could be different. I do think if it was, you didn't have really anything to deal with this Hatterene defensively, and it just beats our Chaladon 1v1 for the most part. Our Chaladon does take it on, but it forces our Chaladon to sacrifice itself. That's the problem, I think, with these fights. Is in order to get a KO, they are forcing each other to sacrifice mons. And that just throws away all your pieces. So like we get to a 3v3 right here, but the pieces are so much stacked in Banzai's favor that it's crazy. Because this is a free switch to bundle every single time. Because no matter what you do, one of these birds is dying with an Ice Beam. If not, you were severely damaging Iron Valiant to the point where it's unusable, and Corviknight wins. With Kilowattrel, you have made it a fairy type, and Corviknight has a steel move. It just wins. Mandibuzz has nothing it can really do against Corviknight, and Corviknight can heal. It just wins. That is really the problem. This Kilowattrel terastallizing into Fairy, I think honestly was the biggest misplay in this, because I don't think it really mattered. Like, I don't think it mattered at all, honestly. Like, it Terra's on a switch in, trying to do some work on Hippowdon. Like, the fact that it comes in there is weird. Like, that should be, like, I would expect that to be Pelipper. Considering, I think we know that Pelipper outspeeds. Do we know Pelipper outspeeds? That was a great prediction, by the way. I don't know if we have a match where Pelipper and Hippowdon are on the field. Here we go. You know Pelipper outspeeds. Unless you predicted the Pasha Berry, which even if you did, you could break it still. Yeah, so I think that the bringing Kilowattrel, letting it be Terra Fairy, was the biggest downfall because you just let Corviknight win. Not having another move besides Volt Switch also was bad. Like, you are at this point, oh, you do have Thunderbolt. But the Kilowattrel being saved this late, honestly, was a downfall too. The Terra Fairy was too early. The Choice Scarf cost you the game at the end. Albeit it did put the pressure to get Roaring out, and it would have been a different story if you got the para. But you're playing for a 10% para at that point to win the game. Man, I don't want to say that set was bad. It's not. I just think you needed a different way to deal with Roaring Moon, and you didn't plan on it. So you're asking Kilowattrel to beat both Corviknight and Roaring Moon, which are the king and the queen, essentially, of Banzai's pieces. The creme de la creme, if I will. And you forced it to choose Thunderbolt there to try to get a para on Roaring Moon if it came in. Again, even if that had KO, like, you had 2 choice users at the end. You're asking choice users to win your game, and that is never a good option in my opinion. So I think a little bit of it was team building. I think most of it was not bringing something to really handle 1v1 Corviknight or Roaring Moon. It's like Corviknight has a great matchup in this fight, and you just don't have an option to exploit it. I think Basket Legion would have carried this fight if it could have come. It would have definitely done some work on the Corviknight. And with Flip Turn, you could have forced switches to really break through the team to allow something like Valiant in the back to win, or allow something like Kilowattrel to win it naturally without having to worry about the Terra. But unfortunately, the Terra does come out, and that kind of seals it. The choice items at the end kind of seal it. And at that point, you're really trying to play with what you can to get somewhere, and it just didn't work. So yeah, that's kind of crazy. So let's see, we have 8, that's 7. This is 4 and 3. So the third ranked seed takes the cake in this run, which is crazy that we didn't see these 2 fight all season. That's kind of the crazy part about like a 12 team 8-week season, is you don't play everybody, and theoretically you have the chance to not play the top 4 teams in the league. Banzai did have a little bit easier of a route, saying he did play at least 3 of the 4, if not all 4 of the bottom teams that didn't make it in. However, Banzai still shows up in the big fights and took on the top players. I mean, he did lose to the Goodnight Cresselia, which is kind of crazy, seeing that was the champion and the Cresselia's only won 2 games this season, 1 versus them. That's kind of nuts. But either way, GG's. Well done to Banzai. Well done to all the coaches. Thank you all for being a part of this season of GPA. Really appreciate you joining. I was glad to be a part of it, and I really appreciate all the other coaches that joined mid-season to help pilot a team, even though playoff chances were highly unlikely for some of us. I really appreciate you all, because when you get in those situations, you don't want to just give forfeits. It's kind of useless at that point. But there's not always going to be either coaches with integrity to finish out the season, and also there's life things that go on, which means you're not always going to be able to finish the season that you start. I definitely wasn't able really to be a part of this season because of trips and vacations and stuff I had planned that I knew was going to be happening, which is why you saw a big gap between, I think, week 3 and week 7 or week 6. We had to do 3 weeks in a row. Yeah. That was gone, so I wouldn't have been able to battle any of those weeks, as well as I picked up the team that I picked up at the end, so which was crazy, but I had a good time, and I think a lot of these other coaches had a good time too. That's a big part about Draft League, is as much as you want to win, it is about having fun and enjoying the time you play. I'm very competitive, so I definitely like winning and hate losing, but these are a good bunch of battlers. I've played with a lot of them throughout many seasons of the RGBL, now in GPA. They're good battlers, and it's tough to win, so Banzai should really be proud of himself, and glad that he had this opportunity to pilot this team's success. I mean, you had a long way to get here. You had 8 grueling weeks of fighting everybody to try to get positioning, on top of winning 3 matches in a row to make it to playoff, to make it to the championship match and become the champion. Kind of crazy when you think about all that, but congratulations to Banzai, thank you everyone for being a part of this season, whether you have been a coach, whether you've been a moderator, whether you've been supporting us with the fans. We appreciate you all. I'm glad to be doing this. I've had a lot of fun doing these streamings, the watch parties. Not sure how that's going to be in next season at all, because hopefully I'll be playing. If I can't, I might do something like this again. But I've had a good time being able to be here and talk through these things, to give my analysis, I really enjoyed, I think my favorite part was doing the preseason analysis and just seeing how far these teams have come. Go back and watch that. I mean, the teams are incredibly different. It would be cool to do like another video like halfway through once the teams are set, because the preseason draft positionings hard to talk about because there are changes made, and sometimes there's changes made because of what I've said. So that's kind of cool too, that I got to see some of those. I got to influence some of those. I got to talk through some of these coaches. I got to do mocks in this season. It's been fun. It's been great. I've had a good time. I hope you all have had a good time too. But that is it for GPA here on the channel for the time being. As I said, I have no information about a follow-up season, so we'll see what happens. Yo, what's up, Gaming Inc? Thanks for joining us. Super awesome to see more of it. Yeah, if you're in a competitive, stay tuned here. Please subscribe to the channel. I have so many seasons of Draft League. I've been a commissioner of my own Draft League since I really started doing Draft League. I played in many seasons. I've won a couple. I've had some really cool, fun teams. I definitely feel like I've gotten a lot better than I was when I started. I hope you do. But there's a lot to be said about the formats of terrestrialization, the different formats since I started in Generation 7. So there's so much to think about when it comes to these things. If you guys are into it, please let me know. If you want to join your own Draft League, please let me know. I can get you into the GPA. And maybe we can have like an 18 or 20 team season. That would be crazy to have like 20 teams with a division of 10, and like you have 2 different draft pools and stuff like that. I've seen leagues like that. It's really cool. So I would love to have as many people wanting to play as they can play in a draft league, join the leagues, become part of this competitive season in these series. It's a lot of fun, and if you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, because there'll be more GPA content, whether that's me doing another watch party series like this, whether that's me doing my own team and videos and stuff. Yeah, there's plenty more to come. So thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. Like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of the content here on the YouTube channel. Very much appreciate you all coming in, and very thankful to the moderators of the GPA for allowing me to have this opportunity, even with my difficult schedule this season, to be able to do these watch parties. It has been a blast. It has been good to be a part of a draft league, even if I wasn't playing in it for the most part. So I really thank them for that opportunity, and look forward to see what we create for the next time, because I am a moderator for the GPA. So hopefully we can come up with something to do in the next year. So I don't know how long this one took to put the piece together, but it started with the faction that broke off from GPA. It started with the faction that broke off from RGBA, that once they closed their division, their group, we came up with our own, and we have been rocking it here since. So it's been great to have some of my friends from that join me in this and come up with the ideas for this, and really step up to commission this league. So thank you all. Appreciate you all. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you all very soon. As I said, that's it for GPA, but that'll not be it for the live streams here on the channel. We have been doing the best team for Pokemon Gold, Silver, best team for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That will continue next week. We'll get back into the swing of that. Hopefully we'll finish that by the end of the year, and we'll start something new. So stay tuned. Those streams still happen at 3 p.m. Eastern time here on the YouTube channel. We just paused for the 8+ weeks that it was for GPA to take that over. So we'll be back for Best Team for Heart Gold next week. Please come in, check that out if you want to see some of the behind the scenes for a Best Team video, which is me playing through the game, literally testing out the team. Love to have you, love to converse, talk through some things, and talk about why we're using the team and why it's happening. But that's it for us today. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. I'll catch you all very soon. If you're looking at the next stream for me, it'll be on Friday over on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/chaos6. Exclamation point Twitch in the chat, where we will hopefully be finishing Minecraft. I don't know if we're going to be able to, but we're going to try our best to finish it. And all that fun stuff. There are videos coming out on the channel. There are shorts. Please check all that stuff out. And please join all the other channels for ways to stay up to date with me, including my TikTok, Twitter, Discord, YouTube, Twitch, all the fun stuff. Please do so. And if you haven't liked already, please, I can't stress that enough, please like the video. It really helps out in the algorithm for people to watch the content here. So I really appreciate that. But yeah, anyone who's watching this on the VODs, we thank you for checking out the VODs. And again, congratulations to Manzai Muskrat and the Boston Celebies with their win of GPA Season 1. We'll look forward to seeing you all in GPA Season 2. And we'll see what format comes out next time, because we're not always going to do the same format. So it'll be fun. But before I keep rambling forever, my name is Chaos, your coach of the Detroit Red Wings, your watch party host for GPA Season 1. We'll catch you next time. Stay safe out there, everybody. And as always,